Welcome to the Backgammon Christmas calendar. 24 points of Christmas. The 22 point by Grandmaster Mark Olsen.
What's up, Backgammon fans? Today is the 22nd of December and we're going to talk about the 22 point. We're sitting in front of the board here. This is your home board. This is my home board. I'm playing the purple checkers. Your 22 point, it's over here on my 3 point. So the 22 point is actually quite interesting. The reason that it's interesting is that it's not fully an advanced anchor. An advanced anchor is what we call an anchor on the 21 point, 20 point, or the 18 point. Neither is it a deep anchor. A deep anchor is an anchor on the 23 point and the 24 point. The 22 point anchor is somewhat of a mix. It's kind of like a hybrid of a deep and an advanced anchor. It has some special strategies that applies only for the 22 point. So let's talk about some of these specialities about the 22 point. When we talked about the 21 point and the 20 point, we established the strategy rule that we don't want to run from these anchors. These anchors are great assets no matter what direction the middle game takes us. The 22 point, not so much. The 22 point is not always an asset. Specifically, if you are ahead in the race, it can actually be a liability, because on the 22 point, you're still getting primed a little bit. Like I can actually form a prime here, and it's a little bit difficult for these guys to escape. It's much easier if you're like here, this position, because here you can run with a 6 and I can't really form a good prime in front of this anchor. On the 22 point, I can form a prime. And it's not that easy to get freedom with these checkers, even if you have daylight and can jump with a 6. So on the 22 point, you're getting primed more than you are from the 21 point or the 20 point. That means that every time the game goes in the direction where you are ahead in the race, that means you have fewer pips, then this becomes a liability. And you actually have the desire to run from this anchor. That's why Grandmaster Michi, he calls the 22 point anchor the butterfly anchor, because it's kind of like the butterfly metamorphosis. The 22 point has the desire of becoming a butterfly and running home to break it. This doesn't apply when you're behind in the race. Basically, if you're behind in the race, you never want to run, right? Because why would you? You're behind in the race. You need contact. You need to sit tight, block your opponent, try to hit a turnaround shot to regain the pip advantage. But when you're ahead in the race, the butterfly anchor is a liability. Hey guys, remember to download and play on the Backgammon Galaxy app. You shouldn't just run with anything. Typically, you run if you roll a good running number. So a good running number would, for instance, be a 5-4, because you can run to safety. Or a 6-3, again, you can run to safety. You're not exposing yourself to any direct shots, you're running to safety. And thirdly, 6-5, because it's also quite safe usually to come down to the 11 point. Unless I have an anchor on your 5 point. If I have an anchor anywhere else, it's pretty safe to go to the 11 point, because it would just be an indirect shot. So the good running numbers are typically 6-5, 6-3, and 5-4, because you can run to safety. If you roll a 6-2, it's not all that good to come here, because now I can hit you. It's a direct shot. You might do it anyway out of lack of better alternatives, but probably not. You want to wait until you roll either a big double or a 6-3, 5-4, or 6-5, where you can jump to a safe location with your blot. Furthermore, I just want to talk about the cube action scenarios from the 22 point anchor. So again, let's say we're in a holding game. We've seen this before. I have full freedom. I have my checkers coming home here. You might have built something as well, and we have a position more or less like this. Again, I like simple rules. You guys know that. The default holding game against the 22-point anchor is double take. The pip count is actually less important now than it was from the advanced anchors. The pip count is very important from the advanced anchor. It's slightly less important from the 22-point anchor, because if I have less of a pip lead, that means that I'm priming you better, because I have better timing for a priming battle. And you're getting primed a little bit when you're all the way down here on the 22-point. So the moment I get to full freedom, that's a trigger, I double. Your decision is usually quite easy as well, because usually if there are gaps in the structure, it's a take. You can take it. It doesn't matter much what the pip count is, because if you're behind 30 pips, you're not going to catch up in the race, but at least you have better timing for a holding game. If you're behind 10 pips, well, you don't have the best timing to play a contact game, but you can get lucky and catch up in the race. So the pip count is less sensitive to the pip count, the 22-point anchor holding game. It's usually just double takes. If we get down to one gap in the structure of the offensive player, that's when you need to start to worry. Then it might not be a take. But it's not as easy to give a simple black and white rule whether to take or pass. The rule is simply, if there's only one gap in the offensive player structure, which is the case here, because the 9-point is not a gap, the 10-point is not part of my priming structure here. So my priming structure spans from the 8-point to the 4-point, which means I only have one gap here. One gap, that might be danger. Maybe you have to let this one go. Sometimes you shouldn't, but it depends. You know, it's not as clear cut, but it can be a pass if there's only one gap. Two gaps like this, always take. Two gaps from 22-point is always a take. It's as simple as that. Thanks for watching, guys. This was the video from the 22nd of December. We hope you liked it, and we will see you again tomorrow.
Merry Christmas, Backgammon fans!